Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's audio production town hall meeting. We're so happy to have you here today. We're in for a really good time. My name is Derrick Harvin. I am the course director for Project and Portfolio 7 here in the Audio Production Bachelor of Science degree track. So continue to do your assignments, turning your work in on time by 11:59 p.m., and I will see you at the end. I'm really excited for that. But here in our series of our town hall meeting, each month you will find us discussing a variety of topics ranging in audio production from making records to recording sound for games and film and much more. Today we have an interesting talk today, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you should be able to attend these monthly and regularly, we would love to see you here. However, you will be able to access the archive of these recordings, and I believe they'll be available for about 2 months after, and you would use the same link to get into those archives as you've done today. So today I have the great pleasure of introducing a gentleman who I just recently met a couple of months ago. He is an acclaimed recording engineer, studio owner of Studio 18 here in beautiful Winter Park, Florida. It's a really great facility. He has worked with the likes of, Daddy Yankee, Talib Kweli, also Joey Badass and Tony Cook, and many others, and also serving our community here in Central Florida. So it's a great pleasure to be here. And also, he is a Full Sail grad, so yes, he's part of our Full Sail family. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you all Mr. Connor Smith. Thank you, Connor.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's been some time. I know you've been talking about getting back here on campus and giving back to our students. And you've been doing that in your facility for so many years, and it's just a perfect time to really give some acknowledgement to that. So thank you for all that you've done.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always fun to be back on campus.
Absolutely. And we met a couple months ago in a session with another Full Sail graduate, Ron Witherspoon, from Rebel, and was working some big things. So
you got to really see how we do things.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to come back some more. But in today's discussion, we really want to just hear about you and what you've been up to and what you've been doing. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about your time before even coming to Full Sail, and how did you come about?
Wow. Well, there's so much to talk about, so I'll give you the Spark Notes version of that story. I've been recording music since I was 14 years old in New Jersey. I just got into music. It wasn't in my family as much as maybe some other my colleagues that have these like family history of music. I found it on my own. I found it through a Tupac album, believe it or not, that a friend gave to me, and I was like, this is really, I don't know why but this album resonates with me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, how can I be involved in music and hip hop? And I think the behind the scenes was really cool to me. I want to twist the knobs.
Yes.
So I did research on that, and I saved up. I mowed some lawns, and I got some recording equipment and built a little studio out of my mom's basement, vocal booth in the closet, and did that, since I was 14, and got to start looking into other studios throughout New York City, and which was right across the river from where I'm from, in Jersey. And Sterling Sound is a famous mastering facility.
I'm very familiar
I knocked on the door
of
a gentleman by the name of Greg Calvi.
Okay.
Who's mastered some of the greatest albums of all time, over 10,000 albums, and Bruce Springsteen, Beatles. I think he just even might have done Bruno's most recent one.
Okay.
And I just knocked on the door. It's amazing what happens when you knock on a door.
Yes.
What can happen, right?
Yes.
I knocked on the door, and he said, "You want to see what I do? I'll take you into the city." And I fell in love with the whole process. So a lot of people go from songwriting to producing, to recording, to mixing, to then maybe mastering one day, And I've kind of gone, my route's been the opposite. I started with mastering, which is rare, and then I learned how to mix, and I did the whole opposite. And then I said, I want to start a studio. And I said, well, what should I do? I was a foreman on a job site at 18 years old. I saved up some money, and I wanted to go to Brooklyn to start a studio. But I said, before I do that, let me get my chops up. How am I going to get really good at this? And I found Full Sail. Or Full Sail found me, You know how it works, one or the other.
Yes.
And I came down to Orlando, which was supposed to be temporary, and it's turned into longer. I've been here for, going on, over 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
And I just fell in love with the music scene here.
Awesome.
And started the studio, and it's it's been a great run.
Awesome. I have a similar story. You graduated in 2000 and...
09 was my first one, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you came back for
my master's in entertainment business.
Awesome.
Yep, after recording arts.
So I was here a little earlier than you. I was in 2001 and
Cool.
graduated in 2002.
Cool.
But similar
Yeah.
story. It's interesting how we all come from different parts of the world and have this passion that just allows us to just go further.
For sure.
In exploration of this. So that's awesome to hear. So you have Studio 18. I've been there. It's a great place. It feels like home. It's a place that I will want to come back to. Tell us a little bit about the name of the studio.
The name. So the origin story of the name, not many people know. I've worn the number in sports growing up. My brother, my dad, we've been attached to this number, and it goes back to Roman Gabriel of the 1967 Rams. But anyway, we've drawn to this number so much. My brother's got it tattooed on him. It's the only thing my dad has tattooed on him. And to me, I took the number and applied a little bit of a different meaning to it. So when I grew up recording, I was in two different type of scenarios. I was either in my friend's basement recording punk rock music with microphones pointed backwards and dirtwood floors, and we didn't know what we were doing. But it just like the energy was there.
So
you know what I mean? Why does it sound so weird? But I'm telling you, man, it was raw. And then I've been in other scenarios where the studios are multi-million-dollar studios and the sound is so pristine.
Yes.
Sometimes the vibe's not there, though.
Exactly.
So I said, well, I'd like to build a place that merges the two, and I think the number 18 represents that. So the number 1 is logic. It's the left side of the brain. It's not right or wrong, it's correct. It's the scientific side of things, and it's really the science of the recording process. The number 8, to me, represents infinity, an infinite amount of possibilities. That's the creative side.
Yes.
I think when you're building a team and when you're building a recording studio, having a balance of the 1 and the 8. And that's what Studio 18 is. It's in a house. We took a house, we rezoned the house. It's 2 buildings, as a matter of fact, top to bottom. And I said, I know people will make great art when they feel at home.
Yes, totally.
But at the same time, like we were just talking before this, you still walk in, we still got a lobby.
Yes.
It's still business. Our engineers, I still make sure they know the science of what's going on. It's not just it's a fun house. It's a very professional setting, but capturing the essence of creativity and making sure artists are comfortable is just as important. So I think there's a balance, and that's what the 18 stands for. It's the 1 and the 8.
Sounds good. And I just learned that you pretty much started the studio while you was a student here at Full Sail, right? And
I did.
You were recording your peers, right?
A small little house. It's amazing. As fate would have it, it was over a flip of a coin. I found a little house across from Rollins College. It reminded me of Hitsville, USA.
Okay.
Just because if you saw where Motown recorded their first stuff, it was in a house.
In-house, yes.
And I walked by this place, and it was pretty ugly property, but to me it was beautiful. And I saw what could be done in here. And I walked. We wanted to rent it, and my buddy was going to rent the place with me. And I said, you know what? This needs to be the control room. That's going to be the recording room. And he's like, no, that's going to be my bedroom. I said, if that's your bedroom, this studio's not going to work out. I'm just going to go back to Brooklyn and do this thing. We flipped a coin over the phone. Thank goodness he was honest and said, Connor, you won the coin battle. I said, great, cool. You're living in the closet. That's the control room. And yeah, I lived in a closet, and we made it work there for the first 2 years of Studio 18. And
Awesome.
That was the foundation.
Awesome. So it's, as a Full Sail grad myself, being at Full Sail, you learn all of these techniques and all of this information that you have, and then once you graduate, it's like, okay, what do we do now? And you were immersed into just running a business, so there's a whole other aspect of that
Absolutely.
we cannot ignore if we want to be successful in this industry or any business.
For sure. And a lot of students want to run their own studios, and I commend the idea. It takes really looking inside and also realizing, talking to people like myself and saying, what is that really like? And it turns out that sometimes you're not working on the music as much as you think. You're working on the business as opposed to in the business, which I'm very passionate about too. You just have to realize that when you start a business, it's not just mixing records anymore. It's branding yourself. It's running marketing campaigns, getting clientele. It's back and forth. It's customer service. So you need to be prepared for that if you want to be an entrepreneur. And that's something I learned throughout this whole process.
Yes, and that's the path where many of our students, our online students or even our students here on campus that are able to come here, running a successful business and knowing how to conduct themselves and build contacts. And I've had my same stories of it. And I have my students ask me, is there a secret to success, or what do you do? And it's really not. It's a culmination of many different components all kind of falling into place. A lot of hard work and dedication, as you've done.
And not being afraid to fail. Fail fast. Open doors and learn from them.
Yes.
No one remembers what you did 8, 9 years ago. They remember what you did 8, 9 days ago.
Yes.
So
if that.
If that, right? So don't be afraid to try things, and looking for the answers is sometimes just doing stuff.
Yes.
And then they come to you.
Yes, totally. It was interesting when I was at the studio. One of the first things that sparked me to the place is how many interns and people that you had that's full sail related that's come through your facility.
Yeah.
You said somewhere
we
around.
We calculated, over the past 10 years, we've mentored, staffed, interned over 400 people, and I would say almost probably 75%, 3 out of every 4 of them are full sail students. So that's about 300 students.
Wow.
It's a lot, yeah.
So how big is your team now at the studio?
Our team is 15. We want it to be 18. Just sounds right.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about it, But that's about how big it is.
That's awesome. So a lot of hard work and just knowing what your vision is and just putting all the pieces together, having the right components and the right team.
I'm still figuring it out.
Oh, that's every day. Right? After this, I have a session that I have to go to and figure that out.
Right.
So it's what we do. But that's, as an audio professional, we learn to solve problems. And
Absolutely.
That's something that's been instilled in us. Great, So as far as I have so many questions, so many things that we could, our students come into the program and they have so many expectations of what it is that they want to achieve and accomplish in their lives. And, and a lot of our students will be in remote areas where they're not in a music mecca, such as Atlanta or Miami or Nashville or New York.
Right.
What advice could you give to students that, to be, as I like to put it, when John Curtis says, the hometown hero, the go-to pro audio guy in their town?
Well, I think the cool thing is, in 2019, soon to be 2020, you don't have to be the hometown hero. You can do a lot from your laptop and be the hero around the world or to a niche.
Yes.
Nowadays, a lot of people can record out of their home for relatively inexpensive and get a decent product, Obviously, there's a time and place for the big studio.
Yes.
And then there's times where that's just not necessary, from a budget standpoint, from a comfort standpoint, from a lot of standpoints. I think the future market right now is in the mixing, because you get a lot of kids that save up their money and go to Guitar Center for $500 and have it set up in their house, or if they spend $3,000, you probably got a pretty good microphone and a good setup that can get something that sounds like what you hear on the radio from a recording standpoint.
Yes.
And then they go, well, I'm going to learn how to mix, right? This is the progression of an independent artist. And they start mixing, and it sounds good in their bedroom, and then they go and play it in their car, and they're like, what the heck? This is not what it sounded like. It's not translating, right? That's the word we use in the studio.
Yep.
And then they get frustrated, and then they go, well, I can't make it sound professional. And then, being a mix engineer in today's day and age is extremely valuable. Recording's cool, but you can make it just by being a mix engineer. So now it's like, well, how do I be a mix engineer? You've got to put yourself out there, and it's amazing. You just take listen to a few podcasts or a couple Google searches on not just search engine optimization, but running a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad that can show what you do. Get your friend, especially full sail students. Have a cool video shot of you. That really goes over what makes you a good mix engineer. I think a portfolio is important.
Yes.
A great way to have a great portfolio, in my opinion, is to download tracks of pop stars or pop, really well-recorded records that you can find these online and mix them.
Yes.
Now, when you go and show someone, maybe, obviously they know that you didn't record the Ariana Grande track, but you tell them, hey, this is my version of the mix. And you know what? That mix is going to sound really good because you're working with good source material.
Exactly.
Whereas if you worked in another setting that you didn't have all the greatest stuff, it's hard to sit there and make excuses to the client of why it doesn't sound good. So I think you can show people, yo, this is what I'm capable of. This is what I do, and then really set some value propositions aside. How fast you get a mix back? What's your mix come with, you know?
Yes.
Oh, it's very important when mixing that you also prep it for mastering, and I have a connection with this mastering engineer, and it's included in my package. And
very nice.
I'm going to want to have a vocal up and a vocal down, and I'm going to send you an acapella and an instrumental and a show mix. And my expertise in mixing is going to provide a great package for you. And when you can market these things, you can run a business from your laptop and be in Toledo, Ohio, and service people in LA.
You're absolutely right. So the portfolio is really important.
Portfolio and marketing yourself.
And marketing yourself, yes. So it's kind of your online business card identity. You know, while you, like I like to put it, while you sleep, someone could be just watching your portfolio site and learning more about you.
Exactly.
And hopefully your inbox is there with some job offers.
That's the dream,
whatever, whatever it may be.
Wake up, you get to mixing, you get the money, No, but I mean, there's a lot of back and forth, you know. I mean, in the beginning, you'll have clients that want 30 revisions on a record. You know,
absolutely.
You know? And you've got to learn how to balance all that, but that just comes with practice and territory.
Yes. A lot of our students, even our online students, have families, so they have children, and you know, even in projects that I'm having them record, you know, we have a lot of extraneous noises in the background, so it's all of these variables that sometimes seem like it's fighting against us, but we have this, like what we're seeing with you, you have this just will to just keep push forward with your business ventures and your dreams.
And you know, that's what I like about mixing too. You know, you mentioned. It's like when you enter the industry, you're not necessarily making a full living right off the bat. It's rare. You've got to work your way into these things. So to work your way in, it's like, how do I support my bills? Yeah, everyone's got different answers for that, but generally, you know, people will take a part-time job and balance it with the work that they're doing, that they're inspired about. Well, when you're mixing, you can dictate your schedule. When you're recording, my time is based around when the client can come in, you know, which is usually these hours, and you know, then I've got to have a treated room. So one thing I just really recommend for students studying recording specifically is to start off mixing. And then when people that are studying production or that want to go into production, you've got to get in great artists' inboxes. You've got to DM them and you've got to show them your stuff. And you say, look, I've got a catalog of beats. Like, I'm willing to give you some of these for free off the bat. And this is my advice. You can take it for a grain of salt, right? Maybe someone else will say, never give your stuff away for free, and I respect that. My advice is, in the beginning, you should. You have a catalog, and you work with some artists, and you give them some beats, and then once that gets rolling, you'd be amazing. If it's through a record label, the artist may not have talked to their A&R, and they're in the studio recording, but the A&R knows when it's time to release the project. Oh, we got to get back in touch with this producer, and you're getting that money. You know.
Yeah, a lot of people will put their beats and things on YouTube, and just for the exposure, you know, to have writers to write to their to the music and expand. And
especially if you put it on, you know, a popular trend is putting it on YouTube for free with limited use. So artists come in our studio all the time, and you know, they'll get a beat from YouTube, and I'll let them know. I said, you realize that this lease that you have is for like 1,000 plays, and they go, oh. I go, here, click on this link, and they go, okay, pay the $50 lease, pay the $100 lease, pay the $200 lease. So it's a way of getting in the door.
Yes.
Study what those other producers are doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Reverse engineer.
Yes, reverse engineer. Yes, it sounds great. But you know, Studio 18 again in Winter Park, Florida, and there's talks of you moving up north. Is that,
that's the plan.
I'm putting that on the record here.
It's on the record now, right? We're live streaming. Yeah, so I'll be moving up to New York here in about 6 months. The studio is going to be alive and strong. I got an incredible team running it, and I'll be bridging making some connections from New York City to Orlando. Orlando has an incredible music scene. I'm trying to help build a music industry, right? There's kind of two different things. But I think me going up there will help that a lot.
Awesome. You know, it's great. I see, as a Full Sail alum, you're still in contact with Career Development and the Alumni Association. This is
all the time.
This is extremely important for our students that, like, I'm in a final class. I teach the final portfolio class, and I have a lot of students who really feel disconnected at the very end. It's like, what do I do now? I'm not under the umbrella of where I have to turn in these assignments, and I have my professors or instructors there. What am I going to do with all of this time now? And we see what you're doing and just moving forward. And it's good to hear that the studio is going to be still up and running as you continue your ventures. And and just staying in contact with the school. And we love to have you back and just continue to contribute. What are some of the things that you look for? And we had a brief discussion before this interview. What do you look for in someone coming into your studio? A fresh, young engineer full of all of these wonderful skill sets, and what are you looking for?
So, I think what I look for, this will be good advice for, just anyone trying to get a job in general with anything or an internship, no matter what industry, I get a lot of emails on a daily basis of people that want to intern for the studio, be a part of the whole thing. And I think the common mistake that I see made is a lot of the inquiries about like, hey, this is where I want to go with my career. I think I'd learn a lot from you. I'd come in and, even if I'm just a fly on the wall, I'll do whatever it takes, but, I'm really looking to grow my career. And it's a lot of like me stuff.
Yeah.
And I do care about other people's dreams like a lot, but I can't prioritize a stranger's dreams when I've got so many other things to balance.
Totally.
What I can prioritize right now is my loyalty to the growth of the studio. And I feel like even so many people don't realize how much value they can bring to the table, even if they go, man, I'm just not too experienced in audio yet. Like, I just got to get my foot in the door. It's like, what else do you do, though? What else can you do to help grow this place? And I think that when you're looking for, a job, first research the company. Understand their history, understand what they're doing, where they're going. If you don't do that, you've got no leg to stand on. It's kind of almost insulting too. Secondly, once you have that information, you say, well, what do I have right now that can help this company? If I'm willing to go in there and work, as an intern for 3 months, for free or, whatever it is, what value can I bring to the table? And realize that there's a lot of other people applying for that job.
Yes.
So, what do most companies need? They need business, generally speaking. So it's like, well, hey, especially in the recording studio world right now that you have so many kids able to record, by going to Guitar Center, like I said, it's like, studios are losing business. So how do you creatively get people in the door? And I think being able to say to the company and say, hey, I'm Brian, and I've done a lot of research on your studio. Really love what you've done with the community over these many years. I see the direction you're going in. I have some ideas that can really help. I've got 1 or 2 marketing campaigns that I think can bring this demographic to your studio that's going to really help your vision in the future. I'd love to help you put those campaigns together pro bono and come in the studio. These are my goals. I'm looking to grow, but I feel like I deserve to help you grow first. And that impresses, I can't speak for everyone. That impresses me. Mm-hmm. And I go, this is not just because I get something out of it first, but because the person has that mindset. Yeah. That's the type of person I want to work with. And don't be afraid that you're not, Pro Tools and a lot of these programs can be taught. There's so many great things you get out of the program here at Full Sail. But I think like just the technical aspect of opening a Pro Tools session is not the strongest thing that I've got from this school, because that can be learned online for the most part. There's so many other aspects that you get from these classes that when I look for a tracking engineer, I look for personality. I can teach some of those other things. How well can you manage a recording session? How well can you manage expectations in a room?
Yes.
How well can you inspire an artist when they're in the vocal booth?
Yes.
So I think those are the type of traits that I look for in a person, and I also look for someone who's willing to give before they ask.
That's very nice. It's almost like a partnership. You have a mutual respect for the person that's coming into the door, even if they're not where you are, because you see maybe a bit of yourself.
And I have a mutual respect for that situation, but they shouldn't have the perspective of mutual. It's hey, you're a step above me right now. I need to do something for you before I ask, And I don't view myself as above anyone. But the reality is, when you're applying for a job, they have something that you want. So now you've got to come at them and say, no, I've got something you want. you know?
That's good, yes.
And that's the perspective change that I think can get people into a lot of doors into studios.
That's awesome. That sounds so awesome. So success can be measured. It's an individual measurement. I mean, everyone sees success on their own. You know, I've had my successes and still have my success. What you know, working, one thing I like about Studio 18 and your mission is not only just, you know, your thrive to wanting to work on the big projects that you worked on, but what you give back to the community, you know, so it's like it's a bigger picture to this than just, you know, this self-centered way, you know, and we as audio professionals, we're always seeking, because it's the nature of our jobs. We don't know when the check is going to come.
Yeah.
You know, it's always about making that proper handshake and getting on to the next job. But for you, like, what was it like after graduating and starting to work with some higher prolific clients? And
you know, it's great. At first, you know, naturally, you're a little starstruck. You're like, wow, like this was my goal since I was 14. I'm working with this level of artists, and it's really exciting. You know, you eventually you're able to get over that, and you should try to get over that quickly, right? Because
yes.
I think what celebrities appreciate feeling normal, because they don't very often,
yes.
you know, everywhere they
exactly.
go.
Yes.
And when they walk into a place and they're just like, wow, there's like not a bunch of cameras in my face, and these guys aren't trying to get something out of me. They're just like, this is a regular person that I can relate to. That's where you really start building some relationships, and that's where these high-profile clients
yes.
really respect you. Now, I will say this at the same time. Some of the projects that have inspired me the most have not been the high-profile clients. Sometimes the high-profile clients are the worst to work with.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
you know,
yes,
a lot of variables.
Yeah,
a lot of variables
sure. I mean, they
go
expect stuff for free, which
yes.
is, you know, kind of insulting when they pull up in a Ferrari, you know, and we're trying to, you know, pay the bills, and, you know, have 5 extra people and all this stuff. But I think what's really inspiring is when you got the kid that saved up his money and like really respects what you do and comes to the studio and says, like, I really trust you, like, take the lead. And there's talent there in that room too. And to me, it's like that's what I really do it for. It's someone that respects the situation and trusts your opinion.
Yes.
I think that's when you feel validated in this industry, because a lot of the times as a mix engineer, recording engineer, producer, people are paying you, and you know, they're the boss. They're handing you the money. They're going to tell you how it needs to sound, or this isn't right. And a lot of the times they're not. They just are trying to have an opinion because it's just human nature, and it's not necessary.
Placebo effect and all
yeah,
of
you
to
do
play a game. And
right. Oh, I turned it up.
Yeah.
Right, it's good, right? But yeah. So I think it's really fulfilling when someone comes to you and goes like, "I've heard your work, and I want you to do you. Like, you run the show. You're in the captain's seat. That's what I'm paying you for." And that's the most fulfilling.
It is a surreal moment. I've had that happen with, you know, not name dropping any artists, but I've had that happen on a numerous amount of occasions where I was at a studio working in New York City at Battery Studios, and you just, in those type of facilities, you never know who's going to be in the next room, and next minute that leads to the next project, and you find yourself in LA behind a desk sitting with some celebrities, like, whoa, how did I end up here?
Right.
You know, and you really have to kind of check yourself and realize, and a level of confidence as an audio professional to know how to handle yourself in those circumstances.
Yeah,
So,
they're not paying you to keep turning around and say, you know, is that good? Is that how you want it?
exactly,
Is that,
you're
like,
there for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know, so that's awesome. That's great. So wow, so much is your story is such a success. I mean, because most, you know, if you study here on campus, I teach in the online realm, so our students are far. However, we do have some students. We have our campus students here, but to run since, you know, back in the early 2000s and the 90s when we had the bands and things that was happening, the music was just really thriving here in the city. You've been able to run a successful business and be a part of so many great things in the city. We're certainly going to miss your presence here, but it's good that the studio
I'll be back.
is
I'll be flying back and forth.
Please do. Any advice that you can give to our students? I mean, you've said so much that with our online students, they are equipped with their lunch boxes where they have an interface, they have microphones, and one of the things that we really try to get them to do, like our last series of this, we were talking about drum micing, and you've mentioned over at your studio you had the Townsend microphone, which is
love that mic.
I know that's awesome. Can you just shed a little light on that?
Well, I mean, versatility. So I mean, and that's what that microphone that you're speaking of brings to the table. One thing I really like about it is, you know, for those that don't know about the Townsend mic, it's a mic emulator microphone, which there's a few companies that do.
Yes.
What I like about the Townsend is it has 2 capsules, unlike the other ones. And this is me going a little tech talk right now.
Let's go there.
But it's got 2 capsules, and which is cool because you can change the direction of the source of the recording and the proximity effect after I record.
Wow.
And the polar pattern. I can change all those things, not to mention switch between one of like 50 different microphones.
Wow.
So I think that's valuable. You know, until you get really good at recording, like you're gonna constantly make mistakes. And you know, the con of that is that when you record something, you know, you can't always get the person back in the room. And it's like, well, I gotta work with this drum recording. Like I can't call them back in. So I think putting yourself in situations where you have like versatility, and the Townsend microphone does that. So I'd recommend looking into that mic for any grad. And no, I'm not affiliated with that company, though. After this, they should send me another one for free. No, but I mean, just as far as advice goes, I think your personal brand is like so key. You know, it's going to be very difficult, not impossible, but just difficult to just come out of school and just go get a well-paying job in Nashville or LA or Atlanta or New York in a studio. You know, unless you already know someone, have that set up and you have credentials. Like, I run a studio. Like, I'm not just going to just hire someone. I know too many good engineers that if I'm going to hire someone else, like, I've already got a list. It's like, how do you break into that industry? And it goes back to what I was talking about before. It's like, well, what can you do from your bedroom, you know? I think the people that are figuring that out in 2020 are the ones that are learning how to market themselves. Digital marketing, you know, it's just some quick resources. I would really look into Digital Marketer, the podcast is really Perpetual Traffic is a great podcast. Russell Brunson is a great digital marketer who's teaching. Now there's a lot of producers making a lot of money using his systems to sell their beats online. Marketing is a craft. And a lot of people, you know, we talk about marketing, we talk about branding, but like there's a science behind how you target an audience, about what you say, about what you can offer them for free, and then how you can upsell them. And I know that it's hard to learn a lot of that stuff, you know, while going to school as you're, you know, focused on your craft. And some of that is offered in the program, which is great. But you got to kind of hunt down that stuff on your own as well.
Exactly.
You know, learn how to market.
Because we're so passionate about what it is that we do, so we sometimes feel as though we could just sit there for hours and tune vocals and things on our own time. But now that we have a client that's, you know, and we're finding ourselves in red because we're spending quite a bit too much time.
You've got to discipline yourself.
Yes, discipline yourself.
Done is better than perfect. And believe me, that's hard. It's hard for me because I'm a perfectionist.
I am as well.
You know, and I have to check myself, you know, and discipline myself to remember, like, no, you have this much time to work on this, and then you have this much time to work on that. And I think it takes really doing like an audit on your life to say, what am I spending my time on? You know, okay, you know, my personal health's important. I go to the gym this much. I do this. I do that. But it's like, wait a minute. At the end of the day, like, how am I ever going to really grow? And you've got to start carving out times in your schedule to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to get around to listening to the marketing podcast.
That is so good.
You're not going to get around to building a website for that. That's always on the back burner. But when you make your goals in the beginning of a month or a year, and you lay it out and you really say, how long does it take to do something like this? I think it's really important to put a time next to your goals. Because I can make a list of things all day long of what I want to accomplish in the next year, what I want to accomplish in today or in the next week. But it's like, is that realistic? There's 24 hours in a day. There's 7 days in a week, you know?
Yes.
So you need to start putting down like, well, this website's going to take me 2 weeks to like develop the way that I want. Maybe, you know, 20 hours of my time to really go in. Good. Now that I know that, schedule it. And stick to that schedule.
Stick to it.
Otherwise, people like you and I are going to sit on the keyboard and we're going to twist knobs all day long, and just have eargasms.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Because that's what we love.
Yes, that's what we love. Yes.
We love the music side of things, but you know what? There's gonna come a time where you're gonna be very frustrated because you're not working with top level clientele or not paying your bills, and you're gonna go work somewhere else, and you're gonna be disappointed in yourself, and you're gonna be looking at why this happened. And my advice to people right now in school is start studying that other side. Put on your schedule time to network, time to brand yourself, time to find clients.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see if we have any questions.
Yeah, we have one question from our audience here. It's, what genres of music do you record at your studio, and have you had anything weird, crazy, or unique come through?
Cool question. Yeah, I record everything at the studio. I've recorded everything from jazz, hip hop, R&B, metal, spoken word. Here's a couple unique things. We had just really inspiring things. We had a gentleman come in who was going to have surgery, and his vocal cords were going to be removed. He was never going to be able to speak for the rest of his life.
Wow.
In fact, he was diagnosed with cancer, and he wasn't going to be able to live for that much longer either. But what he wanted to do was he went through the entire dictionary multiple times, and we recorded him saying every word, and through this program he could communicate with people. And
wow.
it was amazing, just hearing his story, as we recorded this. It took a week straight of recording. And also, it was emotional.
That's life-changing.
It was life-changing. The guy's literally, when he was saying family members' names, realizing he wasn't going to be able to say them again, but just being able to look at that whole thing and say, wow, that's coming through this microphone right now, and this recording is really going to impact the family on that level. That project meant something to me, you know. Another one is I'll never forget this story. We had a 30-piece Bollywood choir upstairs in Studio A recording. We had a metal band in Narnia. This is all at the same time, in a room we call Narnia at the studio. And you'll only know why it's called Narnia if you come to the studio. It's just the rule. They're in there rehearsing, and I had a rapper in Studio B. And they all congregated kind of coincidentally at the same time in the kitchen. And the kitchen's a really cool place in the studio. We got this big, awesome kitchen. It's just where people hang out, Yes. And they're who are you? What are you doing here? What's going on? And they're yo, I do this, I do that. Oh, I'm in a band. And they're like, whoa, 30-piece Bollywood Indian choir. This is so cool. And this guy's yo, I got bars though, and boom, boom, boom. And next thing you know, they all became buddies, right?
Wow.
And there was just this unique moment in the kitchen where there was this almost a cipher going on, right? You had these girls singing this choral background music, and you had this rapper rapping, and the dude brings in his guitar. And to this day, they're some of them are still friends.
That's
so
very nice.
I like things like that, and that's I don't know. I can only speak for Studio 18. Maybe stuff like that happens at some other places too, but stuff like that happens at Studio 18.
Experience that, yeah.
And I think that'll always stick with me for sure.
Awesome.
Tony Cook was another one. James Brown's original drummer.
Yes.
He came in, and I was introduced to him. I was just giving him a tour of the studio, and he loved the way the tracking room sounded. He's this sounds awesome. He's I've got a project I'm working on. He's it's the first it's the first house record of all time. I'm what?
The first house.
I'm what? He's yeah, I recorded this in 86 or something. He's it's the first house record. I'm wasn't house a electronic music that started in Germany? He's yeah, whatever. I did the first house record. This was the first house record. And then you go online, and it's sure enough. And he's we need to re-record it. So we re-recorded that album, and then I interviewed him through the whole process. And it felt like interviewing a Quincy Jones.
Oh, legend.
First of all, I had a relationship, a friendship built with this guy throughout this whole thing. But then we actually did an interview, and it lasted probably 3 hours.
I can imagine.
And just the stories, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
just absolutely incredible. The honor of having that guy you're talking to a guy that's played for 16 years for James Brown.
Oh yeah.
He's seen some things.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It was cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
For sure.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Any other questions?
Yeah, we got two more here. Let's start with, what was the how do you manage to get high-ranking artists at your studio?
How do I manage to get high-ranking artists? Well, coming at the top of the Google page is important because, like, there's other great studios in town too, and depending on where you are in town, maybe they'll pop up. But when people are touring, sometimes they're like, yo, after the show, after the club, after this, like, we want to get in the studio. And like their managers will just, Google a place and reach out to you.
Very nice.
So being at the top of the page is important. Also, building relationships, like knowing when someone's coming into town and reaching out to their management and saying, hey, I just want to let you know about the studio we have. It's a really special place. We'd be happy to have you by. I think as you're starting out a studio or a career, like, you gotta do whatever you can to lure them in, bring them in, for free or whatever.
Of it, yes.
Once you start running a place, like so many years in, like me, you can't afford to do that anymore, So now I can't on a Friday night during primetime recording hours. Just don't get me wrong. If it's on a very high profile, super high profile, like we'll make it happen. But at this point, it's like, if you want to work with me, cool, let's do it.
Yes.
I'm not going to go out of my way to give you free studio time, unless you're like, in a pretty high circle.
Yes.
But that's just because I've been doing it for 10 years.
Exactly.
Your circle's going to is going to get here. You need to start out here with that same mentality.
Absolutely.
And you start closing it in because you are running a business.
And you learn to make those decisions over time. And
you learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. And we have one more question.
Yeah, what is your favorite genre of music to mix?
My favorite genre of music to mix. Let's see. I love mixing really well produced and recorded pop music. Pop today is different than what you would have said pop, 15 years ago. Pop to me is just, top 40, just like really good stuff.
Yes.
But I think the reason I like that is because there's such a high, how should I say it? A lot of people think it's a cookie cutter style of mix, but there's such a high level of expectation for that it challenges, really challenges me, because a lot of those recordings you can't afford to be, they have to be perfect. And I'm not saying that every type of project I mix should be perfect. Sometimes I like some raw elements, of course. But like, I really have to put my A game on when I'm mixing, a pop record. And I love it when there's a good arrangement and stuff is already sitting in the right spot. A lot of times it's tricky because you go, man, this record would sound so much better like if I just muted these three elements. Like Rick Rubin said, he said, I'm not a producer, I'm a reducer. And sometimes minimalism, when you listen to the top stuff on the radio, which most of it's done by some of these Swedish producers, they're being very minimalistic with what they're doing. And it's more so there's complexity in the ingredients, more so than the amount of ingredients.
Yes.
Which is the same with, I think good art in general, food, whatever it is.
Exactly, yes.
So I think as a mix engineer, I'm trying to minimalize the mix without taking stuff away entirely, because you send something back to a producer like, what the heck did you do? Like, where's my keyboard? Where's that? It's like, how can I like tuck it and hide it and have them still listen to it and be like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And pop is a good challenge for me.
Likewise,
always.
that's one of the one of my favorites to produce and mix in.
My favorite music to listen to? I don't know. I like it all, man. Yeah. I listen to everything, country, indie. Like, I'm a big funk guy. I have been for a long time, and that's why Tony Cook was awesome. Awesome. Parliament, Ohio Players. Like, I love like gritty funk music. Yeah.
Great performance and a lot of vibe. Awesome. Do we have any other questions as we're coming to the end of our session here? Any other questions? If not, Connor, this has been a great delight.
It's been
talking
awesome,
with
man.
you. I hope to, see you again at the studio and maybe get up north and see you when you come back here. We would love to have you here to talk with our students.
For sure, I will be accessible.
Yes, awesome.
I always am. People can reach out to me, reach out to the studio anytime. I don't know if there's information in this stream about where to find me or
What is your website for your studio?
studio18fl.com.
Studio18fl, as in Florida,
Yeah.
.com.
And studio18fl@gmail.com is our email. If people are interested in joining the studio, learning more about what we're doing, wanting to intern, all that, hit us up.
Great, great.
Yeah.
It's been a great pleasure.
It
Thank
really
you
has,
again.
Derrick. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it,
Thank
man.
you. Thank
Anytime.
you so much. So that brings us to the close of our session here today. We hope that you've enjoyed hearing about our discipline just as much as we enjoy talking about it each month. Remember that we conduct this once a month, so be sure to tune in when you can. Typically, this will be on the 3rd or the 4th Monday of each month. So keep an eye out on Full Sail 1 for updates for upcoming audio production town hall meetings. Once again, I'm Derrick Harvin, and I'm joined by Connor Smith here. Everyone take care, have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one. That's a wrap. Awesome, buddy.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. We could go on and on with this.
Oh, for sure. I could talk for hours. I love it.
Yeah.
I hope there's some good stuff in there, for sure, you know? I wonder how many people tuned in. We'll see. But it all gets archived, right?
Yes, it gets archived. yes,
Sweet.
so,
Cool.
yeah. And we hope to continue to do this with other guests and just other topics of discussion. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Maybe